Gates Adams here on behalf of Apex Trader Funding, and I'm here today with Delaine. Delaine, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you. Well, first of all, obviously we have you here for a reason. Obviously, you've hit that target level that every funded trader is looking for, as being a paid funded trader. So first and foremost, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, I understand you just got back from Vegas. Did that have anything to do with your funding?
It did not, but it was a nice coincidence.
I had to ask. I had to ask. Well, welcome, and definitely, this is one of my favorite things that I do throughout the day. And I've got to say, over the time that I've been doing these interviews, these have been so helpful to me as a trader, as much so as I hope they are for the people who get to watch these. So we get to get your take on what has basically gotten you to this point. So why don't we take a step back and start from the beginning? About how long have you been trading now?
I started at the end of 2020, kind of with the
Okay.
low float momentum stocks when that world was bumping. And then I switched over to options because I wanted a way to long as easy as short.
Mhm.
And then I was looking at ES more than I was looking at my options entries. And so I decided to cut out the middleman. And when I did that and decided to trade futures, I found Apex and have not looked back.
So how did you actually find Apex?
I found it through a Discord community that was a big advocate for the company.
I always have to ask, because usually if there's somebody that connects you, it's like, oh great, this sounds like a fantastic option. If it's like one of those things that shows up in an ad somewhere, it's like, this can't be real.
Yeah, and there's a lot of companies out there, and I trust the person that recommended you guys, and he said, if you're gonna do it, like this is the best company. They're stand up. They're not going to be a scam. And I trusted him, and so I trusted Apex.
I think that absolutely goes a long way, and we definitely appreciate that on our end, and glad to see that, of course, that at this point it's working out. Now, how long have you actually been trading with Apex?
15 months.
Got it. And okay, so what has changed for you now operating as a funded trader versus before, when you were trading presumably your own funds?
Definitely a learning curve.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, the thing that got me to a payout was in the beginning. I was like, oh, this account is so much bigger than my account. I can size up, and of course that doesn't work. And then I was also, the next phase of my progress was being very focused on the outcome. And not as focused on the process. And when I stopped worrying so much about like, this is my daily goal, this is this, and stopped trying to force things and started to like kind of let go a little bit and trust the process, trust my setups, and let things happen, I got there way faster than I was when I was trying to, hit that target, gotta hit it by this date.
Psychologically speaking, I think that that's a huge factor in realization, and I think sooner that somebody comes to that, it becomes that. And quite frankly, this is absolutely something that I have struggled with as a trader. I always have this like, I want to hit this level at this point, and trading doesn't necessarily work that way. And just like you found, I've found that if I focus more on being clean in my trades, it doesn't matter if I have a winning day or a losing day, I'm steadily progressing. And ultimately, that's the whole point. So now, how did you actually learn to trade? What was your kind of, you talked about some of the different progressions that you made, but did you buy systems? Did you just watch a bunch of YouTube videos? How did that go for you?
That's funny. I used to travel a lot for work before COVID, and that was part of my job, but it was also, I had an entire job plus the travel.
Mhm.
And then when the travel was taken away, like they didn't add anything. And so I had all this extra time that I didn't have in 2020. And I was watching a reality show called Below Deck, and there were some traders on that show. And I'm like, well, if they can do this, I can do this. And so I joined, an education room to learn. And then we actually we have a women's group that formed out of that group because it was a rolling membership, and
Okay.
nothing against men, but sometimes the men were a little abrasive. Like new people, since it was rolling, like new people would ask newbie questions and they would make jerk comments. And so we made our own group, and then we've all kind of like gone in our little different directions, but like we each have like our guys that we follow, or women who we follow,
Sure.
but then we all come together and collaborate. So it's kind of been like a little bit of a lot of systems. Um, I don't know how in detail you would, but I follow some free content, and
Mhm.
um some things I found in the last year have totally changed my view of how the market operates. And I'm a math person, and so like seeing it as a puzzle and not like this emotional buy sell of
Right.
humans has made it make a lot more sense to me.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, and that's the thing. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. Everybody's take on it is going to be a little bit different. Their view, and so one of the points of doing this in the first place is to show those different perspectives, because you're going to have some people who are going to just try to barrel through and force their way into profitability. And for some people, that's going to work. For some of us, we have to kind of finesse our way in. So,
Whole thing is like, again, we are a very close group of women. We meet in
yeah.
person once a year, and like one girl who actually got funded for the first time through Apex last month. We have
Awesome.
four of us who finally got our payouts from
Nice.
fund. She'll say, you know, I'll be like, liquidity's here. She's like, supply and demand's here, and like our levels are very similar. So there's, even though we're following different systems, there's overlap, and it doesn't always work out. So that's where it's like any system can work as long as risk management's in place.
Right. Well, and I think that that community factor, I don't know, for me has absolutely been a critical factor, because unlike a traditional job, you go to an office, you have coworkers and the people that you're around on a regular and consistent basis. A lot of us just trade from home. Most of us, in fact, I think trade from home, and there's not necessarily that interactivity. There's not that community feel. And I think that a lot of people crave that, especially after what's been going on the last few years. So when you find that right group of people, I think that there's just such a great opportunity to learn from one another, to support one another, and really just be a part of each other's success. I don't find it odd at all that four of you at the same time got paid. To me, that seems logical. So,
Stuck with
where do we go from here? What are you looking forward to, without obviously having those set money goals? What are you looking forward to in the next stages for you?
I don't know. I have gotten in trouble in the past, like doing well and then thinking that I knew everything. So I'm sizing down going into September, just because I don't want to put myself in that position again. But I'm hoping to just look forward to a little more consistency.
Sure. Okay.
I
If,
love my day job, but I don't want to depend on it.
well, that's the thing. We can love a lot of things without having to be reliant on them. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about trading from both sides.
I love to trade the London session, and so
Yeah.
it was cool to trade London on the plane last night and land with more money than my flight cost. So that was great.
That's always a nice one. I talk a lot about the quote unquote laptop lifestyle, and how people will take a trip, they'll pay for their trip on the trip by spending an hour trading. I mean, it happens. It's one of the nice things. So if you're confronted with somebody who's like, okay, look, I've learned my system, I've paper traded it, I've gone through the sim, I've done well. Now I want to go be a funded trader. What's the biggest piece of advice you could give them moving into the space?
Don't force it. There's no rush. That was actually the biggest thing when Apex came out with the lifetime PA fees.
Mhm.
Like there's no rush. Like
Right.
you've got as long as you want to get there.
Just take your time, slow and steady, huh?
Your time. And
I,
and ironically it comes, I don't actually know the meaning of ironic. I've never figured out the definition of that word, so I'm not going to use ironically. But interestingly, it came a whole lot faster when I tried to slow it down.
right. Well, and I think that's you're not the first person who said that. You're not the only person on this call who has said that. So it really is one of those things where we can absolutely mess ourselves up by being too close to that target, by being time driven. I know that I've a couple of times I've been so close to like that big target for myself, and by having that timetable in mind, I've managed to mess myself up. And I think that every trader has gone through this in some form or fashion or another. And one of the most consistent responses I get to that is slow and steady. Plain and simple. Don't be in a rush. Let the process happen, and ultimately be consistent, and it'll work out. So, well, Delaine, I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun, very informative. And I look forward to seeing some additional payouts for you. What I always like to do is is maybe see if we can catch up a couple months down the line and get an update, see how everything's coming along. How does that sound? Perfect. Awesome. Well, listen,
Anywhere.
I'm sorry?
I'm not going anywhere.
I didn't think so. Usually once we hit that critical level, nobody's leaving. So, well, thanks so much for your time again today. I appreciate it. And we look forward to chatting with you soon. Okay.
So much.
All right.